Thank you so much. So it's a big pleasure for me to be here today. And I've got something that I'm sure you all love to hear about. And that's mass adoption. That's the elephant in the room that we've all been waiting for. That's why we go to these events. Right? 2018 is supposed to be the year of blockchain. But what happened, right? Where did it all go? Where did all of the momentum fizz away to? And that's because we haven't resolved the elephant in the room, mass adoption. So let me ask you, what created the world that we have today? Was it the horses or was it the carriages, right? So it's actually the carriages that propel people to create faster vehicles, and that's what we have today. And so in order for us to chart a really good course towards mass adoption, we need to look back at the past, look back at exactly what's created the world that we have today. And so looking back, we remember that personal computing, the age of personal computing was started in the 1970s, and then the internet came shortly after that in 1983, when I was born. But personal computing essentially looks like this. We've got user requests coming in, right? And there's a shell that sits on top of that. There's the kernel and the hardware. How many of you remember when the last time you first accessed a computer? The first time that you accessed a computer was most likely through a shell, right? An operating environment where you are able to directly interface with the kernel and the hardware in an easy fashion. So if we look at that and contrast that with blockchain technology today, we're thinking of blockchain as the global computer, right? And so with that, if blockchain is the global operating system, then what are we missing right now? We're missing a UI. We're missing a revolutionary UI that can be placed into the hands of everybody, gives everybody access, and that's how we are going to get to mass adoption. The thing is, building a revolutionary UI is super, super difficult. However, let me just impress on you the importance of having a revolutionary UI. These are the companies, the top companies in terms of market cap the world has seen today. And it's all been driven by UI, right? So we've got Facebook with social, interfaces, that's what Apple specialized in. Software, that's what Microsoft specialized in. Search, and ultimately shopping with Amazon. So what's next? If we look at the landscape, blockchain has been game-changing, but it's not that easy to use. It's not the average person that's going to go out there and use it. I mean, in terms of blockchain technology, the mechanics of it, there's no magic anymore, right? It's not that difficult, and it's not that much difficult to get increased scalability. That's going to happen over time. But it's still very hard to use. And then we look at protocols. Protocols are hard to use, but they haven't changed anything. There's no game-changing protocol out there outside of what's already existing, right? Ethereum, Bitcoin. Well, Ethereum and smart contracts has disrupted only one market, and that's crowdfunding. What else has it disrupted, right? We haven't seen much of that. And definitely DApps. DApps are basically clones of existing applications that are out there. Nothing game-changing. There's no game there. And so when we look at the landscape, one of the things that we at Alfa Enzo were working on is how can we create something that's both game-changing and easy to use in order to deliver cryptocurrency to mass adoption. And so let me share with you what a world might look like if we had that. Here is our platform approach. And so our thesis is we have to think about the users, the developers, and the underlying technology. And so we're looking at this in terms of 3 layers. The user layer, which is where users are going to be interacting with the application. The development layer, which is where we open source our fluidity code so that anybody can create smart contracts on it, and it's secured by our very own Eon blockchain. And so today we'll be introducing 3 game-changing protocols, a revolutionary social network, and a breakthrough P2P marketplace. And we'll do that by putting all of these things into one simple experience, and it's called Alfa. And so let's look at Alfa. sorry. So when we look at Alpha, how we arrived at this, we were looking at what are different ways for us to build a new platform. And we arrived at this, basically a shared calendar. But not any calendar, a connected calendar. We envisioned the blockchain as basically a way for us to all interconnect our time. And when we do that, it works like magic. It's unified. It's easy to use. Everybody understands how time works. It's future-proof. It's ultra-secure. And we patented the experience. So here I want to show you a world a couple of years from now, when we actually get to mass adoption, how we might utilize time in the sense of a user experience. I'm sorry, is there sound coming through here? The sound through this video.
Good evening, madam.
Hey, Alpha. Show me the World's Fair.
Here is the World's Fair in 1964. The theme of the fair was peace through understanding, and it was about the spirit of innovation. Activating augmented reality. Good evening, madam.
What are my friends up to?
Here's a memory from 5 years ago. This looks fun. Would you like to go back? Creating an event from this memory. Okay, post it to the future.
So what have I told you that that video not only expresses something that's coming along, but that experience is very close? What have I told you that we've actually built that experience and that you can experience it today by just downloading the experience from the Apple Store? One thing that we've realized after analyzing over the past 2 years a way to deliver mass adoption is to utilize a platform. And we found it. It's time as a platform. And so if you look at your screen today, the past, present, and future is not being accounted for properly. If you look at Facebook, Facebook is basically a place for you to post something that already happened, right? And then a lot of all these platforms, they are now working more and more with time. However, they're stuck. They're stuck because they're not representing time in the way that we know of it in blockchain world. And that's a representation of things that happen across horizontal time. Right? And so if we deliver an experience that includes this navigation element, what we would have is essentially a platform for us to show the world what blockchain looks like. And so here's a quick demo. So this is our app. It's time-based. And like any other app, you have this horizontal, this vertical scroll. One tap in the center takes you back to the top. But look at this. We can go back to yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. All of this data is logged on a blockchain, and it's using IPFS to shard the data. So we can go back to 3 weeks ago in a single swipe. Let's go time travel and go back to 1964 when that World's Fair was in the video. It's 54 years ago. Now we get to see some things in the context of everything else. We get to play with content as though we are there at that time. Imagine the incredible opportunities that can come about with this. And we've built this platform to show you much more data capabilities. And when we have this and we put it on the blockchain, you're now able to utilize the blockchain in a way that's never before possible, in a way that everybody can understand. See how we're going to the future now. If I wanted to watch a movie next week, how can I do that? I basically go and tell all my friends, right here, you can just buy a ticket using blockchain and post that, and everybody would see. And everybody that sees this on their timeline can also buy the same ticket. So now we basically have been able to bring all of the data feeds into a single powerful platform that we can then use to drive blockchain mass adoption. Think about all the businesses, all of the markets that use this time and location as a platform today. Services, education. What is education? Education is about going back to the past and learning something about that event. Imagine going back to a certain date and time and looking at all the content related to that date and time and then tracking that across time, right? Imagine the marketplace. Knowing what's for sale next week is going to be incredible if that's on the blockchain, right? Knowing what's, what kind of hotels are available at this location tomorrow. That's very, very important. How can you do that today with the current capabilities that all of these other places provide, right? Do you search for that on Google? No, it's very hard to do. And so in one fell swoop, we'll be able to basically use this new experience to capture all of these markets. And take a look at this. All of these different companies or different sectors, hospitality, marketplaces, reviews, messaging, well, they all use time and location. And if we can add all of this onto this platform, we'll be able to really spearhead mass adoption. And so we've created a new token called Enzo. It's based on people's time as a stored value, and it uses proof of activity to create an implementation whereby everybody's time is now factored into a coin. And that is a utility on our network. And we're going to be doing our initial offering on November 16th. So when we talk about revolutionary UI, let's revisit. What is the next big thing in UI? And to us, it's time on the blockchain. And I want to end with this really awesome quote from Alan Kay. It's the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And that's essentially what we have. Thank you very much for your time.
Check. Check, check. Any questions?
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
Again, thank you very much for the presentation.
My pleasure.
There's so many things that I liked about it. There's one thing that I was hoping you would address is the mass adoption, which I still don't understand how you are solving that issue. Mm-hmm. One important element why we don't have mass adoption is because of the current blockchain system and some people abusing it and making money from it for no reason, right. And it's very expensive, unscalable, unsustainable. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand how you're addressing that. And the second question is, why are you choosing to put such a platform on the blockchain? The blockchain is, is about decentralization.
Correct.
I didn't see a reason for your platform to be on a blockchain. It could be on a database.
Right.
So why did you choose blockchain? I would like to know that.
Perfect. Thank you.
you.
So the first question was, why is the, sorry, I'll address your second question first. In terms of mass adoption, right? Why are we talking about mass adoption? How do we get there? And the most important thing is blockchain actually is not achieving mass adoption because not a lot of people know how to use it. And that's the main key, right? How do you tell somebody just off on the street and say, hey, this thing is secure by the blockchain, or that thing is on the blockchain, or, how can you buy a cup of coffee with blockchain? That's not going to happen because everybody's focusing on protocol. They're not focusing on the consumer experience. And so one of our theses is, why don't we hide off the complexities of blockchain and give users something that they can readily understand, and that's a social network. And so if we create this social network based on the blockchain, we might be able to get closer to mass adoption. We might be able to get people to have a platform from which they can create valid, viable experiences that is actually helpful and conducive to normal everyday living. And not just some protocol or, anybody can create a protocol these days, right? They can name a protocol. I mean, you name it, you can just tell me, oh, you want to do something, and I can create a protocol right here for you. It's super simple. And I can create any ICO token in a matter of hours, right? It's really simple. Use the truffle framework and it's done. But, how do we get the real deal to people? Are we solving any real problems? And we do that, and we can do that in many different ways. And there are many different industries to tackle. However, how we get to an explosive level of growth, from our perspective, is to go through network effect, to use and create a brand new platform that the world knows about and that they can understand, and that's time. Once we begin to do that, once we begin to allow for users to earn tokens by just being on this social network, they'll start to use it. And once they start to use it, then we might see them start to trade it. And cryptocurrency is only valuable and valid when it is trading hands. And we see that in ICO, but we're not seeing that between regular people, and that's what we need. Second question was about why can't this be on a database? We've seen all the issues with data being mismanaged by all of these different companies, and we want to give users an ability to control their data. We want to use IPFS to shard the data so that only you can access with your private key and other people can see with a public key. And that's important because it puts you in control. It puts you into a world where one day you might make the decision on what you want to see and what marketers can show to you, instead of them just peppering you as you go through your daily social activities with all these things. You have full control of your time. And if your time is connected to other people's time, you also have control over what other people see in terms of what you're broadcasting. Right now, we are not living in a world that's like that. We are living in a world where every single thing that we do and touch, we're being peppered with all of these things that we don't want to see, right? And things are being placed out of temporal context. That's how Facebook is able to change our minds. They're showing you things that are not temporally in the same place, and because of that, they're able to show you a status quo that is incorrect. They can convince you that everybody around you likes Nike sneakers right now, when that is in fact not true. And with this, if we lock things properly to the blockchain, we will live in a world where it's more reality-based and not social networking-based. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one question. My question here.
Yes.
My question is this: how you are maintaining the customers' investment integrity and soundness, because this is a big concern. If the customers, you interact with the customer, so they require the integrity of their money, which they are trying to invest through this channel. And second, the mostly in your portal, it's mostly covering the scope of capital market. So you are having any plan where you can also capture some financial institution to incline them, or to because this sector, if you will involve in your way from your platform, so the customer will have more confidence on you. because the financial sector people, like as we are belong from the banks and the MSBs, so like, so how you are like addressing these issues? And third, like what's your target plan for like to penetrate in the market of Dubai? Because you see like here, as we have earlier discussed, that there are like some regulatory challenges are also there. So what's your plan regarding?
That's a great question. And I want to address that. My time is nearly up, and so address that really quickly. With regards to essentially everything that you were saying, it all comes around to, you know, what's our future plans as we grow. And the development path for any social platform, any platform really, is about developing the core idea. And our core idea is a connected time system. And from that, we will begin to integrate other systems into the network. And that's a pretty easy thing, right? We start from a very small first principle project, first principle perspective, and then we will then create all of the various different plugins or the different callings into various other different networks. And that's how we'll be able to tackle all of the various different challenges that might come up in the future. Please come see me. I'll have a lot more in-depth detail. I don't want to keep everybody's up here. So please come see me right after this, and I'd be more than happy to delve into any other future plans that we have. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. That was great.